Welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I'm Cherry Wolf, Marketing Media Manager here at Blocks Digital. With me is Bridget Sipler-Moker, Director of Audience for Blocks Digital. Are you tired of seeing your hard-earned subscribers slip away without warning? During today's webinar, Bridget will share insider secrets to safeguarding your digital subscription revenue. She's here to teach us how we can measure churn and what we can do to improve overall subscription retention. Bridget, are you ready to help us chase zero churn?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Take it away.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, again, thank you and welcome for coming to our webinar. I know this is a really, really busy time of year, so really appreciate you guys carving out time today. At Blocks Digital, we have really been working on retention for over the past year. This is a really, really critical part of any subscription program. And this is what we're going to talk about today is not only a study, but to share with you some of the things that we've added to the platform, to Audience Plus, for you to be able to take advantage of to reduce churn. As always, our goal here is to help you be as successful as possible with Audience Plus. And so that's a lot of where today's webinar comes from. So just going back for a second before I dive in here to the deck, the last webinar we had was about trailblazing, about best practices for your audience, your subscription or membership platform. We did a couple of polls during that webinar, and one of the things we asked was, what is your biggest challenge with respect to your subscription platform, your subscription program? And overwhelmingly, the highest result was, the biggest challenge is retaining and engaging subscribers. And that was no surprise to us. It's really something that everybody in this space is working on, whether you're a newspaper, digital first, membership, donation model, or completely non-media space. Retaining subscribers is so critical. Because if you're filling up this bucket, but the bucket's leaking, it's hard to really grow, hard to get anywhere. So after that poll, and from a product management standpoint, we've been working so hard on retention. Cherry and I thought, we really need to do a white paper just on churn. And the white paper we released, a couple of weeks ago, Cherry? And it's a free white paper. We did a really in-depth study, and today's webinar is sharing with you what we learned in that study. So we wanted to sort of give you the highlights in this webinar, but there's an opportunity to download the white paper for free just to give you a little more in-depth to read through some of the stuff we're going through today. All right, so let's talk about the agenda for today. So it is focused on churn, on retaining subscribers. We're first going to start out with pretty high level calculating churn, the easiest way to do that with blocks, and what it means, just some definitions, just so we're all on the same page about what we're talking about. We're going to talk about the white paper, our methodology, our findings, to share with you on the highest level, what do these things look like? And then we're going to talk about some very practical strategies, some very specific tactical things you can do to retain more subscribers, which means keep more revenue in your pocket. And then finally, we'll open it up for Q&A. I'm really excited to hear your questions and feedback during the session. All right, so let's start at the top. Let's start at the 1,000-foot level on calculating churn, what we're talking about, the easiest way to measure it. So just to make sure we're all on the same page about that definition, we're talking about churn as the relationship between the subscribers you lose and the total subscribers you have. So it's a proportion of the lost subscribers to the total subscribers at the start of the month. Now, if you look at, just do a quick Google search, you'll find there are dozens of ways to calculate churn. The one I'm sharing with you today is just what I think is the simplest, especially if you're just getting started on measuring this on a regular basis. We wanted to give you a really easy way to get started to calculate it. So when I say lost subscribers or churned subscribers, I'm specifically talking about when you have auto renew subscriptions, whether they're monthly or annual, and they're supposed to renew every month. If they do not, for whatever reason, that's a churn. That's a stop or a churn subscriber. So that's what we're measuring here. Now, these lost or churned subscribers could be lost for a couple of different reasons. They could have a problem with their credit card. They could have called to cancel. The card could have been declined or expiration or expired. So there's a number of different reasons why somebody would churn. And today we're going to talk about those in kind of two different sections. So involuntary churn and voluntary churn. So in terms of the churn rate, we're doing a really high level total of everybody that should have renewed but didn't. But I want to think about it and tackle it in a couple of different ways here. So involuntary being they were supposed to auto renew, but it failed because of a problem with that credit card. So these people didn't expressly want to cancel or reach out to us to cancel. They had a problem with the card. That is where our single biggest opportunity is for low-hanging fruit to recoup some churn subscribers there. Now, the other one, of course, is voluntary, and those are the folks that call up and want to cancel their account. And so we're going to focus more on the involuntary today, but I do want to let you all know on this call that I'm really excited. Next month, we're coming out with a beta for an automatic self-serve cancel process. I know there's been a lot of requests for that. So once we get that beta started sometime next month, we will be able to dive deeper into the voluntary part of churn and show you some ways that we can help you mitigate that. Today, we're going to be focused on involuntary because we have a lot of great tools to help you reduce that. And again, it's a low-hanging fruit situation. You can really keep a lot more subscribers just by a couple of simple tips and tricks. Now, if you're wanting to know where to find the lost subscribers, the churn, the stops, we have a very specific help doc for that. So if you're on Block's subscription today, there's a link right here on our help site. Cherry, maybe you could paste it in the chat. Thank you. And I have a little clip of a video on there to show you exactly where to get these numbers. It's pretty easy. It's just a couple of clicks on the in Block subscription. So take a look at that if you don't already know how, and that will get you started on measuring that. I suggest a monthly basis, but of course you could measure churn weekly if you wanted to. All right. Now that we are all on the same page about the definition of churn and how we're separating and how we're attacking these involuntary versus voluntary, I want to talk about the study a little bit. So again, we knew this was an issue with churn. Every subscription business is working on reducing churn. But for Blocks Digital specifically, for the last year or so, we have been really working on this from a development and product management standpoint. As director of audience, what I'm trying to do is help you make money with Audience Plus. And so that means working on some architectural things and features in the back end that produces easier ways for you to manage, measure, and mitigate churn. So with the study, especially coming out with some new tools, we wanted to see where we're at from a 1,000-foot level. So with Blocks, since we have hundreds of domains using subscription software, we have the ability to be able to see an aggregate of performance and to be able to see how different sites are performing and measure that. So we did a ton of different methodologies to dig into the data here. So we looked at stops and cancels, of course. We looked at which ones were due to credit card failure, involuntary. We looked at the churn rate, of course. We looked at revenue, the amount of renewals on these sites, total active subscribers, average revenue per user, which is, all of the revenue a site is making in a given month divided by the number of subscribers. We looked at lifetime value of these subscribers, on the auto renewal, how much month to month do they make over the lifetime on average? And of course, the tenure, how long the site has been using Block subscription or Audience Plus. So we took all of these, we followed 7 domains for 4 months, and we looked at all of these different variables. And the purpose here was, where are we at for churn? How does this stack up next to benchmarks? And how can we help our partners, you, mitigate churn? So this is a really important study here just to get us on the baseline, right? To see what's happening with our sites. So now I'd like to share with you what we found. So out of this really in-depth study, the most important thing, the single most important thing, is that anywhere up to 29% of the stops of the churned accounts on your site are due to credit card expiration or declines. This is a really important number because of the churn that you have on your site, the involuntary churn is the low-hanging fruit. We want to help you with some automated methods to reduce that as much as possible because those people didn't necessarily want to cancel. So this is the single most important one. And if you look, just do, again, a Google search, you'll see a lot of different companies out there say it could be as much as 40%. And that's going to vary depending on all of these different factors that we measured. But I think the most important thing is a huge chunk of the churn on your site is recoverable. And that's what we're really, really focused on today, is helping you recover that. Couple other things that also add up to churn is if your average revenue, if your average price is on the higher side, it usually correlates with higher churn rates. That doesn't mean that you don't want to charge a higher price. It just means you have to be aware of that and make sure that you're still clearing the revenue that you want to clear. So specifically, in a benchmark study by Lenfest a couple of years ago, in the US, the average monthly rate for a digital subscription was somewhere around $10 or $11. And so, as you've probably noticed with the landscape here, those monthly rates are starting to creep up a little bit. And a really good strategy is to use an introductory offer, let's say $1 for 3 months, and ramp to that higher monthly rate, let's say $10. But a lot of sites are pushing that up to $12, $15, even $18 per month. And so if you do a really good job of onboarding and you have great content, the retention rate can still be really good. But when you're more up to $18, you are going to have a higher churn rate than a site that's maybe charging $10. Couple of other things here. Longer tenure means more expired cards. This is kind of a no-brainer, guys, but if a site has been on a certain platform for 4, 5, 6 years, there's going to be more expired cards than a site that's only been on that platform for 1 or 2 years. And this is just because all of our cards expire every 3 to 5 years. And so if you have a higher number and haven't been, maybe working actively to combat churn, you're going to have more involuntary churn on that site than somewhere that's only been live a couple of years. So if you've only been on, let's say, Audience Plus for a year, that doesn't mean you don't have to worry about churn. You can get out ahead of it now. But the sites that have been on it longer are going to have the most to gain immediately when it comes to combating churn. A couple of other things that you would expect, subscribers that are engaged generally retain better. They churn less than subscribers that don't visit. Now you'll see a lot of industry things out there that say your subscribers are either extremely engaged or not engaged at all and never logged in. And maybe those zombie kind of folks just really love your brand, or maybe they never log into the site. In any case, it's somewhere in the middle that we can really focus on engagement. So getting those light readers is not only a good strategy for your acquisition, for converting them, but it's also engaging those readers is really important for retention. And then finally, one of the myths out there is that if I have a site that's smaller, that it's not going to retain as well as a site that's larger. Metros versus, a couple of weeks or a daily versus a larger site. So we did not find that to be true in this study. It did not correlate the size of the site with higher churn. In fact, we had some small sites, we had some groups, we had some independents. And so that the diversity of those things was really helpful just for looking through these numbers. So we did not find the size of the site to really impact churn. It's more these other factors. So I think good news for the smaller newspapers and community sites that you have that great content and people will pay for it. All right, so we've talked about the definition of churn. We've talked about the methodology of our study. We've talked about what we found. And now I'd like to get into sort of the nitty gritty. What are the actual things that you can do to combat churn? So now that we know how important it is, let's talk about very precise, specific ways that you can improve churn, which means keeping more revenue for subscriptions. So let's start with some behind the scenes stuff. I know that with newspapers everywhere and any publication, any media organization, that most places have to do more with less these days. And so to the extent that we can automate some of these processes for you, that will help and reduce strain on your staff as well. And so while I talked about self-serve cancel, that's going to be next month that we open up that beta. So that'll be sort of our next follow-up to this study. So I'm going to talk about all the ways specifically that you can work to improve the involuntary churn. So that huge chunk of low-hanging fruit. So the first thing is a credit card updater service. So you've probably heard of these from other organizations or maybe even your circulation system. Well, Blocks can now offer that kind of service to you. Now, what it does is through our payment orchestrator, it talks to the credit card companies and it looks at my card and it says, Bridget's card is expiring next month, and it proactively goes out, gets an updated expiration date and updates in the system. So that all would happen behind the scenes without that customer knowing any different. Now, the reason this is really critical is because today in the system, without this service, the user just falls off. When it expires, the system retries the card, but since it's expired, it's not allowed to charge. And so this is a really, really critical piece. To the extent that we can do these things for the customer and they don't have to go in and update anything or sign up again. That's how it's going to be really important, a really important tactic to retain subscribers. Now, if you think about it, let's say you have a $10 monthly subscriber. If you invest in this service to update their card, which is cents on the dollar, you're not saving just the $10 this month. You're saving the $10 next month and next month and next month. And so for all of this retention stuff, to think about the ROI, you really need to think about the long tail and how this affects your business moving forward. So automatic updates is a new service that we're adding with Audience Plus. So it is an additional charge. It's called Premium Credit Card Management. This is an optional service you can enroll in, and it has a lot of great features. We'll talk about that as we go through the deck here, but that is an option to you to automatically update these cards. All right, the next big way that you can attack this is grace periods. So I've had a lot of people ask me, it's because this has been out for a while, why would I want to give people an extra few days of access when they're not paying? So the function really of grace periods is just to give you a runway to try to get a good charge on that card. So this is an option, and this is a free one, folks, where you go into the service and there's a new thing for grace period, and you can select a number of days to give those subscribers access. Now, this is specific to when their card has been declined. If they cancel, they don't get grace. Now, in this 7, 14, or 30-day span, Blocks is going to retry the card additional times. And that's really, really critical here. It's going to retry up to 14 times, as much as it's allowed. And the important thing here is this works really well in concert with Credit Card Updater, because as the updater process runs throughout the month and updates those cards, if you have grace on, grace is going to catch the update, and then again, the user will go on, their subscription will renew, and they won't even know anything happened. They don't have to do anything to make that update. But grace periods does work well. Even if you don't have the updater service, it's going to retry. It's just not going to be able to get those cards for the subscriber, which means the subscriber will have to go in and update themselves. So this is really, really important. I recommend 14 days. You do have the option to set it to any one of these. And that also gives you some time if you do outbound retention calling, to call and get the card. All right, the next period or next section here is on system emails. So as you're probably aware, Blocks has had some automated subscription notification emails for years. We recently upgraded them within the last year or so with HTML. All the messaging has been updated. They look a lot nicer, and they're all the wording has been upgraded quite a bit. So with these system emails, we have a couple specific to retention that you really want to make sure you turn on. Credit card failure, expiring, and expired are 3 different emails with very specific messaging that will trigger automatically within the system. So it's just another set of touch points to engage the user to have them come back and update their credit card info. So if in the event that credit card updater can't get an updated expiration, or it's not an expiration problem, it's a decline problem, this is going to be a way that we can reach the user automatically without you having to do something. Now, another piece, I know this has been a highly requested feature, is to be able to update a user's subscription without having to sign up all over again. So this is another feature of premium credit card management. So when you purchase that service, one of the things you get is add a card features in the front end and the back end. So what this means is a user can go in and self-serve update their card. So they can go in and they don't have to completely sign up again. They just put in their new card details and it will continue to run. There's also a button in the back end of Block subscription called add a new card. So if somebody calls over the phone or you do outbound calling, you can take that card over the phone. You don't have to take their whole address and everything else. You don't have to sign them all up again. It's a really, really easy process. And then Blocks will automatically add that to their wallet and make that the default card that they charge. Now, one of the reasons that this is part of that premium package is because it requires this architecture, this premium wallet architecture to work, because it's got to store multiple cards. Our old system was not able to do that. So that's part of what we're adding here, but we're adding a lot of other features. So the add a card one is really popular, and you get that automatically with premium credit card management. Now, we've talked about a lot of behind the scenes things, and those are really the most important and are going to make the biggest dent in those involuntary losses. But there's also a number of ways that holistically you can improve your subscription program over time, and it's really customer facing things. So these are things that more of strategic in nature that you can continue to work on and improve over time, optimizing with, as you grow with your subscription platform. So the first one is pricing. Now, we talked about this just a little bit, where higher monthly prices generally correlate with higher churn. So I think, like, overall, you really want to be strategic with your pricing on your digital platform. Your paywalls should have just one offer, just one, and it should be an introductory offer, let's say $1 for the first 3 months, that automatically ramps to that regular monthly rate. If your monthly rate is, let's say, $10 a month, those are all features that we've had in Blocks for some time to be able to automatically bump up to that next life cycle, right? But not everybody knows that you can do that multiple times. So one of the ways to be really strategic about this is after 6 months on that $10 rate, you could automatically bump that entire group up to $12 or $15. You can set multiple ramps with multiple durations. You can also do this with annuals. So if you have a special that is $1 a week for a year, $52 annual subscription, the second year it can automatically ramp to $99 or whatever your price is. And then that third year it can ramp again. And since we're thinking long term, if you have this automatic credit card updating, even if their card expires during that time, you're still going to get them on that third year. So you're really sort of baking in price increases over time that you don't have to manage one by one. So again, these are all features in blocks today that you can use to ramp those rates. But that it all starts with that promotional pricing, because of course, as we want to retain, we also are focused on acquisition as well, and you want to keep those new starts coming with those introductory offers. Now, another piece here is user experience, is just improving the experience of subscribers on the highest level. So creating a really good first impression is a really important piece of this, and that's part of your onboarding. So out of blocks, if you use block subscription and one-page purchase, you automatically get a receipt email that comes out of the system. But not everybody knows that there's also a user account welcome email. And that's really easy to be turned on. And you can actually customize that email to really show people why it's important that they're supporting you. And that really comes down to value proposition. So everybody has, the little tick marks of what you get when you buy a subscription. 24/7 access on any device. You get on mobile experience on any app. You get the e-edition. But I think taking that a step further and really explaining to folks what they get, what you do better than anybody else, is really critical here. And not only when they first, before they purchase, not only on your paywall, but also through these touch points, just to remind them of all the great things they get and what you provide. So I think that also comes down to your messaging on your site, whether it's retention or acquisition messaging. So a couple of things that I really like that I've seen is our friends at Tourstar do a really good job. They have a tagline that's "Truth we need for the world we want." Love that. Our friends at Pamplin use "We've made knowing what's happening around the state easy for you," which is I think is fantastic, really speaks to their regional expertise. And our friends at EO Media use "Stay informed, be engaged, live better." So these are just a couple of examples of taglines. And this is really more in the marketing world, but getting really granular and high level about what you provide. So in addition to those tick marks, a lot of people use email newsletters and things like that to keep, as part of that onboarding experience, to really keep people engaged with your brand. And then finally, the last customer facing piece here is really nurturing those subscribers by building that engagement. So this is a continuous effort. This is something that you can work on over time and continually improve. And again, when you engage, especially those lighter readers, those lighter reading subscribers, you're going to have improved retention because it's going to matter more to them. They're going to be reminded of why they pay for this service. They're going to be reminded of why they should support you and your mission. So it's really about deepening that connection. And I know it sounds a little fluffy, but this really comes down to helping people make that decision on whether they put in their credit card information again or not, or whether they make that call. So this is really more about improving the subscriber experience to nurture that relationship. So these are creating experiences that are really great for users. So some examples are, if you're on Blocks e-edition, we have the live e-edition, where when it's segmented, when it's hooked up with TCMS or with a third party, you can click on an article and you're not just seeing the newspaper page, you are seeing the entire live article next to it. So your videos come through, your photos, your updates, your breaking news updates are all part of that. So you get sort of the best of both experiences. Now that live e-edition is also part of our combo app. So we have the Mobile NX fully native mobile app that has all of your web content, but it also has a really beautiful e-edition view, and you can choose which one you prefer. That one's really, really nice, and it's really fast. So these things, all these pieces really work together, and subscribers may not know that that's available to them unless you remind them and tell them. And then, of course, there's options like fewer ads for subscribers, exclusive content, subscriber-only email newsletters, lots of different other things to, add to what they get. And again, giving them great experiences and reminding them that they're there can really help improve retention. All right, so I know we've talked about a lot of different tactics and strategies here to improve retention. We're really focused on that low-hanging fruit of involuntary churn. How can we reduce that number? And so just as sort of a recap, here's the things we talked about. So addressing those expired cards and declined cards can be a huge portion of that churn. And we have ways to do that automatically now that can help you. So that's a really big one. Grace periods is where we give the user a runway, some extra access. And the purpose is really for us to get a good charge on that card, whether it's reaching out to get them to update it or giving that credit card updater time to run. We have automated subscription emails. Those have been in the system for years, but you really want to make sure they're turned on. So you're getting those customer touch points automatically. You don't have to touch them. Doing the automatic, or I'm sorry, the updates for add a new card for updating your subscription. So that's a front end and a back end thing. You have the add a card button in Blocks for your CSRs, and you have the self-serve add a card option, again, to update that subscription so you don't have to restart it. And then we have the more customer facing pieces, optimizing pricing, really setting yourself up for price increases with multiple life cycle ramps, enhancing the onboarding experience, turning on that welcome email, working on your value proposition, a statement that tells everybody what they get, as well as those tick marks. And then finally, nurturing that relationship by making those experiences really great, like the live e-edition, the mobile NX app with the e-edition in it. All of those things, making the subscribers happy, will make them want to keep the subscription. So as I run through this list here, I just want to note that you'll see a QR code on your screen. Now, this is to download the free white paper that we talked about. So it goes in depth on all of these pieces a little bit more. So you want to take out your smartphone and you want to open the camera and scan it. Look at that QR code and it's going to pull up the link for you. So definitely download it. It's a free white paper. You can really go in deep for all of these different things we talked about. So another thing I talked about that I wanted to give you an overview is the premium credit card management, or sometimes we call it the wallet. Now, this is an additional service that we provide to Audience Plus partners that can give you all of these automations we're talking about to help you reduce the involuntary churn. There are a ton of great features with this and even more coming out. Just to give you a sense of it, the automatic credit card updater comes with the premium credit card management. So you get that proactive updates of the cards. The self-serve update payment and add a new card, it comes with it. And I forgot to mention earlier, but if you have a customer that has called to cancel and you want to use the new formers wall, which recognizes former subscribers, you can do a specific paywall just for them. It's going to save their card in their wallet and they don't have to re-enter their card again to become a subscriber again. So it's fewer clicks to sign up again. It's a really, really slick experience. We also, have the add a card option for your support team in Block CMS. So if somebody calls to update their information, you don't have to sign them up all over again. You just put in their new card info. We also have more choices for payment gateways. Up to this point for Audience Plus and Block subscription, you've had to have PayFlow Pro to do recurring payments. Now we have many, many more choices of gateways. If you prefer to work with Stripe or Authorize.net, let's see, Payway, Stripe, Paytrace, Bambora, there's a lot of different options out there. And if you have premium credit card management and Audience Plus, you can switch to one of those gateways. It's pretty painless. It's a really nice feature. And then new payment options. So we are finishing up a beta for a PayPal button to subscribe with PayPal. Really, really excited about that one. The performance is great. We also have Apple Pay and Google Pay coming out in 2024. Apple Pay will be first, hopefully the first couple of months of 2024 here. That will be a beta, of course, that we open up. You have to have the premium credit card management for it to work. And then I just wanted to mention that we have some additional features coming out soon. Like I said, we've really been working on this for you guys, really wanting to provide you with these features that everybody's requesting. So a couple of other things are gift subscriptions. I know the holidays are just around the corner, But gifting is always a great option throughout the year for other holidays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, or just for, birthdays, things like that. So that comes with premium credit card management. We've had a really, really fantastic set of results from those already. Subscribe with Google is another one that we're working on, as well as the self-serve cancel mechanism. Now that we hope to open up the beta next month. That's the self-serve cancel process that you can opt to turn on. And the most important and critical piece of this is you will be able to specify some stop save rates. So save rate offers that during the experience, if you want to offer them a lower rate to stay, let's say a low annual rate or a low monthly rate, you can offer that through the experience automatically without you having to touch it. So it's, in some ways similar to if somebody calls to cancel, you can have that offer to try to get them to stay. We all know it's cheaper to keep that subscriber than to try to get them to sign up all over again. So that's a couple of the features. We're really excited about this, and we've had excellent performance so far. So if you're interested in premium credit card management to automate some of this retention stuff for you, reach out to either your sales rep or put in a ticket, support ticket, and we'll get you to the right person. Now, if you're relatively new to the Blocks world or Audience Plus, you may think all we care about is retention, and that's a big one for sure. But we have a lot of other case studies about other features and functionality with Audience Plus. It is a dynamic meter, a smart meter. We have lots of different ways to acquire subscribers, and we've really put a lot of great features into the acquisition side of the house as well. So Lee is a great case study example. They had a huge improvement in conversions by going to the dynamic meter. WIC had a great, fantastic improvement by upgrading to self-serve purchase, single page purchase. So you purchase within the article without leaving it, without going to another site. And after you purchase, you're automatically logged in. So it's a really great experience, and making that experience easier increases conversions every time. And then finally, in the center here, the text that is probably most critical to this conversation today about retention. We have a great case study. This just came out a few weeks ago, and they actually transferred their subscriptions from another system into Blocks with Audience Plus and premium credit card management. So it's a great case study if you're interested in moving from another system into Blocks. It's really, really fantastic. Definitely read about that. You can read it on our site here. We'll provide the link, of course. So if you have any questions about any of these, let us know. But we wanted to give you one more chance to download that white paper if you'd like to. So again, just use the QR code on your phone. That'll go directly to the site. Really easy sign up, free white paper, and you can go really deep into all these topics. But while you're doing that, we'd love to open the floor for questions.
We do have a couple questions.
Great.
You may have already covered this, but just to make sure we're clear, are there plans to add Google Pay, Apple Pay, etc., to the subscription pay options? If so, how soon will they be available?
Yes, the answer is yes. So PayPal, the PayPal button is in beta testing right now. We're finishing up beta testing. So that one's going to be open to anybody with premium credit card management within the next month or two, I would say. We'd like to really beta test these for a while just to make sure all the functionality is there before we open it up to everybody. Next on the list is Apple Pay and Google Pay. Apple Pay is, I would say, about half done. We hope to start the beta process within the next couple of months here. Google Pay will come shortly after that. And the third one is, third kind of category is Subscribe with Google. We have a beta test running for Subscribe with Google right now. So I know that's a little bit different. You need to have a relationship with Google for that, but it is another really easy payment option.
What about Amazon Pay and Venmo? Are those on the roadmap?
Not on the roadmap at this time. We'd really love to see how the performance works with PayPal. Specifically, PayPal and Apple Pay really lead the charge in terms of getting a lot of conversions. So that's where our focus is right now. But we're really excited to see the performance, and we'll obviously look at others as they become available.
How do people get signed up?
Absolutely. So if you're interested in the premium credit card management, it does require Audience Plus. It is pretty easy to sign up as far as reaching out to us. You can put in a ticket just to start the process, or you can reach out to your sales rep if you have their contact info. Either way, it is a contract, it is a paid product, and so we'll run through those sort of pieces with you, but cents on the dollar. And as you can see, there's a lot of automations here and new features that'll really help you boost your subscription game.
Wonderful. And if you're interested in finding out about these as they roll out for beta testing, a great place to find that is in our release notes email. So either make sure you're signed up for it and getting it, or let us know and we can add you to the list.
Absolutely. I just want to also do a shameless plug for our product updates email. So definitely sign up for both as well as Activate, because product updates, we will notify when things go from beta to open to everybody. We also really focus in on those high value features that you're interested in. We like to make sure that you're reminded of all these great things that we put out, because I know everybody's busy and one email isn't enough. So make sure you sign up for all of those on our website.